Hello. I was pondering a lot last night, and I've realized, and I think that it's not anything mind-blowing or anything, but meditation is literally the training method to shift your paradigm, to change your life in the direction that you want it to go. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the best form of meditation is, okay? I'm not some sort of monk or guru, but I am somebody that meditates on a regular basis. And when I meditate, I started just like everybody else, focusing on your breath, staying still, and always trying to return to focusing on your breath when your brain goes off in another direction. And I think that's great. This is a good thing. And if you're doing this, that's great, right? But eventually, as you become more advanced in meditation, as you do it more and more often, and focusing on your breath becomes a task that's not too difficult to do for an extended period of time, for more than like 3 or 5 minutes, then you can begin to implement more advanced techniques. And one of those that I've been doing is I have been imagining what it would be like, what it would feel like, to be specific, what it would feel like to be the ideal version of myself. And I know that that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but hear me out. Essentially, when I'm telling you to imagine what it would be like to be the ideal version of yourself, I'm not necessarily telling you to imagine like a specific scenario. I'm not really telling you to imagine, how you will become your ideal self. Just if you were the person that you always wanted to be, if you were as confident as you wanted to be, as attractive as you want to be, as courageous and intelligent and disciplined as you could be, how do you believe that version of yourself would feel internally? And I think that that's a more important question to ask. When you have the ideal version of you in your mind, I want you to embody the energy of that version of you while you're meditating. I want you to feel everything that you believe that version of you would feel if they were doing what you were doing right now. So if you're meditating and you're focusing on your breath or something, and you want to take it to the next level, imagine what your ideal version would feel like if they were meditating right now, right? And you'll notice if your ideal version is extremely confident and believes that this meditation is going to propel them toward success, for example, well, that version of you would definitely feel very different than the current version of you if you're not already that confident. You understand? If you imagine being the most confident version of yourself, the most attractive and magnetic version of yourself, and you really hold that in your heart, and you feel it, you don't try to understand it, you just feel what it would be like to be that person. How would they think? How would they stand? How would they make decisions? You literally will begin to feel the change in your body already, just by sitting there and acting as if you are that version of yourself already. You will feel that energy, and that's what you need to focus on now. You need to focus on that energy, that state of being, that internal state of your ideal self. And when you can focus on holding that feeling internally, it trains your mind that this is the new state that I want to return to. This is my new baseline state that I will return to. And it's absolutely changed my life. It's changed my perspective on everything. Because you'll know that this begins to work when you begin to realize that situations and scenarios that you experience on a day-to-day basis that you used to interpret in another way, you no longer interpret scenarios that you normally experience in the same way as you used to. You feel different about them. Maybe you see a coworker that is normally disrespectful and he normally irks you a bit. He normally annoys you and you don't want to be around them or whatever it is. But this time, now when you look at them and their undesirable behavior, you feel bad for them. You feel sorry for them in a way. Maybe you don't see their undesirable behavior as something to bother you. You more so understand that they themselves must be suffering in order to feel that way. And I don't know, right? This is just an example in my life. You know, you begin to look at things from the perspective of your ideal self. And you didn't know exactly how this would happen, right? You just held that internal state for an extended period of time, and you constantly are training your mind to return to the state, right? So that is what I believe you can do in your meditations, if you're not already doing it, is rather than just focusing on one aspect of your environment, like your breath, like your expanding diaphragm, or a sound in your environment, whatever it is, rather than focusing on just that physical element, you can then begin to focus on an energetic element, an internal vision, an internal state of being, right? What would it feel like to be your ideal self? Hold on to that feeling, and during your meditations, always try to return to that feeling when your mind strays. Hold that feeling. Feel it within yourself, within your bones, within your tissues, right? Within your posture, everything. Breathe like a more confident person. Breathe like the ideal version of yourself while you're meditating. And no matter how many times your mind strays away from that feeling, always return to that feeling, okay? Don't think about the breath anymore. That'll naturally flow. Return to the feeling of your ideal self. And then you'll begin to do this in everything that you do, whether you're meditating or not. If you're driving and your mind strays, if you become aware enough of your internal state, you can feel whether or not your internal state is aligned with your ideal version or not. And if it isn't, you can return to it in anything that you're doing. Working, in the gym, shopping, just going on a walk, being with your family, whatever it might be, right? You can always internally decide to embody your ideal version. And that's the biggest key takeaway. So, yeah, thank you for listening to this. Bye.